afternoon. Thanks for having us here, Joe. So Radiant.Earth is a nonprofit startup. I personally joined more than a month ago, so I'm also new to the company. But the company itself started in August 2016. We are initially funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Omidyar Network. We also received a generous grant from Amazon as a kind of promotional credit for AWS. So we are building our platform on AWS, which I will talk about later, just in a couple of minutes. So to tell you about what's our vision and mission, we are about open geospatial data, particularly for positive global impact. We are targeting the global development community. And we want to provide an open and free access of not just data, but also analytics tools to them. And to do that, we basically want to connect those peoples worldwide to this wealth of data that is out there and to a set of analytics and tools to have a better kind of positive impact to meet the sustainable development goals in particular. As you might know, there are 17 of them defined by UN about 2 years ago, and we need to meet them by 2030. So that's what we are all about. And to do so, we have 3 programs internally. One is a technology platform, which I'm again going to introduce more in detail now. That's basically cloud service. We are now into 1 month of running the first phase of the platform. It's getting matured. Every 6 months or so, we will add new features, new data sets to that, but gradually and over the time, we are developing on that. The second program is a community development, and that's basically partnering with institutes and entities out there. We have been signing MOUs and partnerships with ESA, in particular with Australia, the Data 61. We are in discussion with NASA and other entities, and also more kind of private institutions like foundations who are interested in the global development community. We are also under the development program running a series of blogs soon, about a month from now, on different things. What is happening in open spatial data? What's happening with machine learning? Any things that can be used for the global development community, we are also targeting that. And later in 2018, we will be starting a consultancy program to help those guys who want to be on our platform to get on board. So we want to provide some expert consultancy to them so they can better use our platform. As you know, there has been a boom in the data that we are getting. I mean, this is both in terms of commercial data as well as the open source kind of government institutions data that has been provided. And these numbers does not include the CubeSats that are being launched. These are just satellites which are more than about 50 kilograms. In the last decades, have been around 180. In the next decade or so, we are going to be around 427. So we have boom in data being provided, but are we really able, I mean, as I say we, I mean the whole community, not just those experts who know what's going out there, but are we able to better discover these data, access those and use them for a better impact? And these data has been satellites, but there's a lot of drones and UAVs coming up. There are airborne missions coming up, and there are also non-raster data, which is being added to the wealth of information we have from our Earth. So we want to have a platform that can blend all of those together. And there's an opportunity with cloud computing. AWS is here, and that's why we are here. And also machine learning in terms of applications and tools that we can apply to those data. So we want to have this platform that can provide a service in both directions, both the data as well as the analytics, to have a better set of solutions. Our platform is the first iteration. At the moment, we only have Landsat 8 and Sentinel-2 data on the platform. We are basically ingesting it directly from AWS, but as we go on, as I mentioned, we will adding more data to that. And if someone has their own data, they can upload it to the platform, and it will be only accessible to them. It's not shared with anybody else. If they have, I will show you a quick demo on that. But if you have, for example, a contract with Planet, you have data from them, you can directly call their API through our platform, ingest the data. If you have data on S3 bucket, you can directly ingest it. You don't need to download it to your local machine and then upload it. So these are kind of the ease of use that we are trying to add to the platform. And this is basically the 3 pillars of our platform. Being able to discover the wealth of data which is out there, reducing the time in just discovering the data and spending that time and being more creative and building more solutions, knowing about the ability, what are the tools out there, and then providing the capability to use the big data algorithms and the recent developments in that direction. And these are the basically set of challenges, global challenges that we aim to address, from global health to food security, poverty, property rights, and you can name it. But at the same time, we are not going to have kind of internal programs that would run on each of these topics. We are going to introduce case-based studies, kind of use case examples for each of these. But at the end of the day, we want to be the back end. So people can come onto the platform, solve their own problems. We will help them. We will give the best tools. We are kind of in a two-way avenue. We talk to them. We get feedback. We kind of progress on our platform. But we want them to be creative and solve these problems rather than us investing in solving all of these and providing solutions. But as I mentioned, we will be building use cases on top of that. So these are kind of the deliverables we will have. As I mentioned, we will have a set of use cases and best practices. At the moment, I'm personally investing in terms of developing a use case on food security. We have people on our platform that are working on the land rights in Africa, and some people working on the deforestation. So these are the best use cases that we would like to showcase to others so they can join and take advantage of this. We will provide market information and education through our blogs and community development, and also expert advice, as we will have later on our consultancy. The platform, at the moment, we are kind of invite-only users, but I will have sign-up sheets at the end of this talk distributed. If you are interested to get on board and see what's going on, we will be happy to give you access. But at the end of the day, we will also ask for your feedback through a survey. So come on board and give us feedback so we can enhance and improve on that. And it will be free access for NGOs, definitely. But we will have membership tiers later on. If, for example, universities want to join, or if at some point startups want to join, we haven't yet built that business model, but definitely for NGOs and global development community, that would be free access. This is again a wrap up on the platform, so it's comprehensive. Any sort of data can be ingested on that. It's centralized, so everything on the same place, and it's somehow, I would say, complex and simple. Complex in the sense that if you're an expert programmer, you want to sit down, code, and call our API, you can do that. If you want to go just on a GUI, simply just visualize some data, visualize some tools, apply to those data, you can do that. So depending on the expertise level of the user, the expert, they can apply anything to the data, and they can build their own tools on top of the data. That tool can be as simple as NDVI, which I will show you later on. And as we develop our second phase, most of the machine learning algorithms will be able to be run on our platform as well. And to summarize the features of the platform, so it's open source, it's neutral, so we have both open source and commercial data. And we are also in discussion with commercial companies who want to provide their data freely to NGOs who are working in developing countries. And we are thinking about how we can give that access securely so it's only used by them, not others. So we can be that kind of a bridge between those two entities so they can get access to data. It's collaborative. If someone from their institutions are on our platform and they want to share the project with them, they can do that. If they want to share the project with a public, they can do that. It's federated and it's agile. This is a snapshot of the platform that I will just in a second open up as a demo, but it's built on Raster Foundry. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that. So Raster Foundry is in itself an open source geospatial tool built by Xavia. Xavia is a company in Philadelphia. They actually build our platform on top of their own Raster Foundry. They're not here, but I think they will be here next week. Oh, where are you? Oh, I didn't see you. Yeah, they're there, thanks to them. And it's on AWS, definitely. We are taking advantage of the cloud there. Our API is up, so it's doc.radiant.Earth. You can check that. And now let's do some demos so I show you what we are talking about here. So this is the landing page. We can see projects, create new projects, or browse tools. Create new projects can be in a standard project, which is just a snapshot of a set of data. You can define an area of interest and then get notification when new data comes over your region. You can filter those data by cloud coverage or any other features of those data. But when you create a standard project, you have the option, again, to search available imagery on our platform or import your own. If you say import, I want to show you this connection, and then I will go back to the thing. So if you have your own data from these sensors, you can board. But if you say, for example, you have UAV on S3, or if you have a planet scope data, you can select here planet scope, and then here you just select the scene ID and you give you the API, because I've previously entered my API, so it doesn't ask for that, but for the first time you should enter that. Soon we will have connection to Dropbox and other platforms out there, so you can easily ingest your data. But let me go to the one that you can search the data, and then we can easily see how does it work. So here you can filter by cloud cover, by sun elevation, by different things, by sensor type. So let's say we are looking for Landsat 8. We want to have a 20% cloud cover, and let's select a date, I don't know, August or month. And when we zoom into here, hopefully the internet would be fast enough. We're not seeing anything yet. Okay, it's coming up. Sorry, I was too fast. Yeah. And as you zoom in, the search will only search that region we are looking at. If you select one of these boxes, it will only show those images. And then you can see the thumbnail. If you select it and add the scene, it will be ingested to your project. And then you can apply later on to the tools that you have. And then here you can do, so let me open up a project that we can apply some features to that. This is a Napa fire. It's not the best thing, but it's a good thing to do. So color modes, you can apply different combination of bands, visualize them, what happens. You can do annotations, for example, derive a rectangle here, or a polygon. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Cancel. Okay, yeah, let's do a polygon. We are in the process of being able to export these basically labeling and features out. At the moment, you just can annotate and visualize them, but you can add a basically key here with a tag and define that basically polygon or annotation. So it can be used in many kind of crowdsourcing things you want to do later on. So you can have people come annotate your images. And if I go back here, so let's see what set of tools we have. At the moment, we have a set of kind of standard tools that you might think about. NDVI, NDWI, any kind of typical algorithms, but you can define your own tool here and apply that depending on the features that you have in your data. So let's try an NDVI change detection here. So when you define a tool, you will see this visually, but as I said, you can go and call our API and do the same thing with the data. I'm just doing the visual thing. It's more entertaining at the moment. So I have some data from Maria Hurricane, before and after that over Dominica. We want to see what happened there. Dominica after. And then you should select the bands for the NIR and the red, which we know it's 3 and 2. Apply changes, and we say visualize. And this will visualize the data down there. And now, because it's a change, so we might have a better color ramp as a diverging, so we can see the differences. And let's correct this to be equal on both sides. So this is what's happening there. So this is a NDVI change before and after the event. The red is basically loss of vegetation. So the thing is that now this is not loaded. I mean, it's still caching from the server, but it's because of internet connection. It's not the server. That's just a snapshot that runs on AWS. And then as it loads, you will see spatial features that are interesting. Just 1 second. Yeah, so these things. So here is the capital of Dominica, and then this is a main river going on through the city. But these dark reds are new creeks which are developed after the flooding event and just washed all of the vegetation through there. So you see the biggest kind of loss of vegetation at those small creeks which are developed. We did also an NDWI change on that, and we see a lot of water added to these regions. Basically, new rivers are formed because of the extensive rain that happened there, and it's a slopey region. There's bluish things. There's not new vegetation. It's just cloud images in the basically post-event thing. So NDVI, I mean, you should interpret it correctly. This is just a visualization to see what happens there. And you can easily share your results from here. And we have done that. I will show you if I go back to the browser. So we have a website now, demos.Radiant.Earth, which we showcase some of these examples. Again, we're building on top of examples so people can learn what to do. So this is the post-hurricane NDWI change. This is the same scene that we just saw from Dominica. This is the NDWI change. So on the left, you're seeing the natural color before the event. You have a set of things here. You can also, let me load the natural color after. You can see what has happened in this region. These are planet imagery, so we should give the credit to them to share this data through their disaster program with us. You see the plume of the river coming out, and these are the new creeks which are formed. You see somehow in the visual image. Previously, they were all kind of forested areas, and now if I load the NDWI change, you can see where we have more water added to the region, and these are all the new rivers formed here. We have other use cases from Puerto Rico, 2 cities here, again, a lot of inundations. Something interesting happened in Puerto Rico. So this particular region is a dam, and you see actually a decrease. The red is a decrease in water surface. And that's because basically they release some of the water from that region. So the dam has some capacity when the flood comes in. So we see a decrease in the flood level there, but most of the river has increased and a lot of inundations around the city. Other examples we have there, other than the NDVI, is a fire example in British Columbia. And this is again the same kind of setup. We have the natural color, and then we have the burn area after the fire. Again, looking at the vegetation index, what's going on there. And there's a very interesting tool here. You can draw a polygon and see, for example, what is the area of that or what is the distance and that. So we are building on top of these to get some measures out there. Again, it's the, I would say, first iteration of our platform. You might think the tools are very simple, but really needed out there. And we are building on top of that to be able to have more complex demos, more complex algorithms applied to this. And as we go on, bring more users who can be more creative with the data. And one last thing before I finish, the demos are really mobile friendly. If you open the same website, demos.radiant.earth in your mobile phone, you will see quickly everything loads. And these are not images that has been processed before, it's processed in the real time. So it's going to the AWS, doing the NDWI change, giving you the results in real time. So it's really a good platform, and we thank Xavier for doing such a great job in building the platform for us. With that, yeah, I would happy to take any questions, and I will distribute these sheets. If you're eager to be on the platform, we will be happy to do that. As I said, it's invitation based, so we will get in touch with you and give you access to the platform. Thank you.